Hi there, Eddie. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. And yourself?
All good, thank you. If you could just introduce yourself to Inspire Be Free, all the viewers, listeners, explain who you are, what you do, and a little bit about empowerment, which is your area, I believe.
Okay, well, my name is Ade Shokoya. I'm an author, radio show host of It's All Good Radio. I'm also a coach, public speaker, and a business consultant. So as you can see, I'm quite busy. Reason being, the devil finds work for idle hands, and I know how to keep my hands out of his way. But that hasn't always been the way for me. Haven't always been doing stuff like that. In fact, as a youngster growing up, I made some really bad decisions. I'm sure many of the listeners or watchers out there may be able to relate. You know, sometimes we make bad decisions. I made some really stupid decisions in my life when I was young. But there came a point in my life when I realized that there were three destinations that I was heading. It was either going to be a really long time in jail, serious drug addiction, or even ending up dead. And none of those were the places that I wanted to end up. And fortunately, I also recognized that deep down there was more to myself, that I had more to offer the world. And at that point, at that crossroads, I was fortunate enough and blessed to be able to make a right decision and decide to turn my life totally around. So from there, I set myself to university, graduated with a first-class degree. From there, I went on to work for a number of corporates as a business analyst consultant, making multi-millions for them. I then went on to establish my own successful property investment company that was trading in properties all around the world. And since then, like I said, you know, author, radio show host, public speaker. I'm now also doing business consulting once again as a BA. So, you know, it's just a case of being able to turn my life totally around.
Mm-hmm. Is there one key thing that inside directs you when you're doing different avenues? For some people, they follow one ambition. And again, like yourself, I like to do different things. In your life, is there one thing that says, okay, this is right for me to do this? Or is there a certain way you live your life by how that will fit in with your personal values?
I mean, that's a good question. And yes, I mean, the answer to that is that the thing that drives me is to inspire and to motivate others. Now, like I said, when I was going through my challenges in life, you know, I have a saying there, but for the grace of God go I. And I was fortunate that people saw inside me things that I couldn't see in myself. There was people who believed in me at times when I didn't believe in myself. And as a result, it was their belief that helped me to get through my darkest years. And that has inspired me to go on to inspire other people. You know, I do a lot of youth work. I work with gangs. I work with kids in schools. I work with in prisons. I do a lot of work, outreach work, voluntary work. And it's just really, for me, it's about inspiring people. My radio show, It's All Good Radio, which airs every Thursday at 9 p.m. GMT, is really about that. You know, I have another saying, which is, everything's all good when we look for the good in life. And it's about inspiring people and showing them how, regardless of where they're at, they can always find something to help them. My book, Laugh Last, Laugh Loudest, is aimed at helping people who want to start out entrepreneurship, to overcome criticism, fear, doubt, and help them to move forward. My public speaking is about inspiring. So for me, they're all just different avenues of being able to get my message out there.
Brilliant. So they all lead into that inspiring.
Correct.
But just different ways. That's brilliant. And with your book writing, I'm interested in books and authors in self-development, personal development. What was the time frame that you did from starting your book to creating the idea, and what drove you in with that, and how did you make this come about? People might be saying, well, he's all right, he's written a book and he's got public speaking, but how did you get into that place and find that place in you that you were ready to write a book? And did it all just fall into place, like synchronicity and that?
Once again, a very good question. And the book came about, it was an idea. You know, I'm sure many of your listeners out there and those who are watching right now, everyone has a book inside them. I have loads more books inside me. You do, everyone does, but sometimes we don't recognize it. And there comes a point sometimes when something happens in our life which says to us, you know what, now's the time. For me, it just became, as a business consultant, people kept on asking me the same type of questions. And through my own personal development journey and my own personal development studies, I began to realize that, business is not necessarily about this kind of academic business knowledge you need. from a personal development point of view, it's about knowing yourself, and it's about understanding, when you strip it bare, understanding the values and the qualities of successful people. One of my things has always been about modeling. So I'm always, looking at very successful people, Richard Branson, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Donald Trump, you name it, from the business aspect. But also looking at people in terms of their own personal values, like Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, looking at these people. And after a while you start recognizing, well, hang about, these people achieve greatness because of the way that they live their lives and their philosophies. And like I said, because I keep on getting asked those questions and understanding that a lot of people's issue really wasn't about not understanding business, but it was kind of being able to tap inside themselves and believe that they can do it. So that was what inspired me to write the book and just kind of bring it together and formulate it in a way that it'd be accessible to everybody.
Brilliant. And when you're talking about you modelling, I know that's techniques from different areas. People
Yes.
use that, maybe in NLP, you use it to model. If you could give some tips for someone who's not sure what modelling is. I mean, for me, it brings the idea that there's always something in someone else that you've got within you, and it's about bringing that and seeing that. I mean,
Correct.
what tips could you give to somebody if they saw someone they liked and they really thought that person has got something great? How would you give them to start off in some modelling? What would you say for them to look out for and how to incorporate it?
I think the first key really is knowing yourself. You need to know who you are and what your values are. What do you aspire to be? What is it you really want to achieve in this lifetime? What impact you want to leave behind? And then look around you. I mean, one of the great things about the internet is it allows you access to information on a level that wasn't available before. So it means, just by going away, you might have somebody in mind who, you don't even know personally. If you know them personally, even better, but you might have somebody in mind who you don't know personally. And it gives you a chance to go away and research their life and look at the challenges that they've been through. Now, in terms of modelling, like I said, once you know who you are and you understand what your values are, then it's a case of looking at individuals who have similar values, who may have been through similar journeys or are where you would like to be, and being able to look at the keys. What type of values? How do they live their life? What type of habits? What type of disciplines? What type of philosophies do they follow? And one of the things I say to people is modelling, and for me definitely is so, is, I take aspects from different people. I don't want to be like anybody else. I'm happy the way I am. I've got my faults, but I can live with that. And part of life is the journey of being able to accept yourself for who you are, understand your limitations, and being able to work on that. And I'm comfortable in that sense. So don't ever take on board modelling feeling like you need to be like somebody, but choose those things that they have. Take a little from each person and, duplicate them. Do it as they do. Carry yourself as they do. In certain situations, you might stop and ask yourself, okay, what would so-and-so do right now? Many times I find myself in situations and I stop and say to myself, okay, what would Nelson Mandela do right now? And for that moment, I allow myself to be like Nelson Mandela and allow myself in that moment through modelling to, do what I feel he would do. And that helps me to achieve my objectives.
Brilliant. And when you talk about empowerment, and this is a form of empowering yourself,
Yes.
How critical and key is the questions you ask yourself? And is it the more powerful you find the questions, the more powerful changes or shifts could happen, or the more you're going to notice yourself develop as a person? Because, you see quite a lot of people, sometimes I see myself, they will be asking the same questions and getting stuck in the same patterns. Is that a case for some of those people to maybe step back, think about new questions they can ask themselves and to grow in it? Is that how would you put that across for people, their questions in their lives?
Excellent question there, for starters. So, and that really is it there. You've demonstrated there. The power of the answer is based on the power of the question.
Yeah.
And the more that we're able to question ourselves, too many times, it's like we say, the most important dialogue an individual has is with themselves.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is you've got to be always able to question yourself, because in many ways, if you look at it from another aspect, as human beings, for whatever reason through life, we've kind of been conditioned. A lot of the information, a lot of things we do it just as a response. It's just the way it is. But sometimes when you stop and ask yourself, well, hang about, why did I do that? Or why do I think that of myself? Why? It helps you to start getting to the root of these things and helps you to become more clear. One of the most important things about empowerment, enlightenment, is to understand yourself. And through understanding ourselves, we understand the power that we have inside ourselves. And that's really, for me, what empowerment is about. Inner empowerment, understanding and reconnecting with ourselves. And the only way we can get through that murky fog, or whatever you want to call it, is to be asking ourselves questions, questioning the things we do, questioning the whys we do it, questioning the thoughts that we have about ourselves and about other people. And then through that enlightenment, it allows us to expand, because, and one of the things I say, sometimes ask the question, but don't expect to answer it. One of the things I used to do when I started out, which was, I found after a while, wasn't the right way, was I'd ask the question and attempt to answer that question. What we're going to do is ask that question and leave our subconscious to answer it. Our subconscious is connected to what has been, what is, and what will ever be. It's connected to all life source. It knows all the answers already. So what we're going to do is just be able to ask that question and leave that question to simmer, and then one day, bam, the answer will just come.
So you'd say that it's kind of having faith in yourself and your subconscious. You do the groundwork, it brings and breathes into you.
It is, and that's a great way of putting it. And if, like I said, if you look at many successful people, you'll see that they didn't know how they were going to achieve it. They asked the question, how can I? And they didn't ask it. They just went with it. They went with the flow and believed in themselves. Believed that, you know what, they're going to make mistakes along the way. Not judge themselves, be happy and cool with it. But believe that in the long run, it's all going to make sense. So once you can get yourself into that space, ask those questions and be comfortable with whatever answers, and even accept that the answers you get may not even be the right answer. Like they say, a wise man knows that he knows nothing at all. So when you live like that, eventually you end up in a place and you'll be like, wow.
Brilliant. And if you could just share, I don't know, an empowering story from your life that has maybe working with one of your clients, or maybe it's an event that's happened since you've been following your work. If you could share a little story with everyone.
Okay.
And maybe if there's something you've learned from that, or they've learned from that.
Yeah, an empowering. So for me, it's like I said, over the years, when I've been changing my life around, I've been doing a lot of youth work. So about 10, 15 years ago, I was doing some youth work. I was working as a drug counsellor. I was working in an exclusion centre, so that's basically kids who've been kicked out of school. And there was a young lady, I remember this young lady, she was about 14. She was taking some really serious Class A drugs, and she was also having some sexual abuse issues, and all this stuff was going on. Bright young lady, but in a really bad place. And through the way that I was able to connect with her, be able to show her who she was, and then next thing through the centre that I was working at, received a card to say that yes, she'd passed her A levels, so that that was or GCSEs, whatever she was taking at that stage, but which was really cool. Didn't think of any of it. About 2 years ago, I was at an event, a personal development event, and I was talking to some people, and then this lady came up to me and said, "Hey, hang about, was you a counsellor in East London?" Yeah. That was just so long ago that I'd done that piece of work. I've done so many other things since then. It's like, oh my gosh, that you remember me? And I'm like, should I? Then she told me who she was. And then she told me what she's been doing, how, oh my gosh, thank you ever so much. Even as I'm telling this story right now, I'm just getting shivers all over my body. Thank you ever so much. You saved my life, and that's because of you, I've gone and changed my life around. Now I do youth work. She also does workshops. She's writing a book, so she's out there working with adults now, doing, personal development, inspiring, doing all this stuff, working with people like Jack Canfield and all these other people. And I'm like, wow. And she's like, yeah, and all this was because of you, because you took the time out to show me something different, and I thank you. And that brought tears to my eyes, but it's just recognizing that sometimes it's the small things that we do. A simple smile, a simple hello, a simple word of encouragement can be enough to lift somebody up from where they are and take them to a higher place.
And like you say, sometimes you might not know, and sometimes that that if you put in good things out, it's going to go to a good place.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And if you could just let everyone know where they can catch you, if they wanted to see your work online, if there's a website they can meet you at or connect with you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. So, if you want to connect with me, first of all, my website is adeshokoya.com, which is spelled ADESHOKOYA.com. You can always connect with me on Facebook. I'm on Twitter as well. I'm on LinkedIn. Also, why not tune into my radio show, which is every Thursday GMT, where we have really inspirational people from all over the world who are inspiring us to be, do, and have more. And the show is called It's All Good Radio. You can catch me on there, like I said, from 9 p.m. every Thursday GMT. And the link for that is just go to www.adeshokoya.com/radio. And also do feel free to go to Amazon and look for my book, Laugh, Last, Laugh Loudest. You'll find that there as well. And yeah, it'd be great to connect with you. You've got all my details, and yeah, if there's anything that I can do to support you in what you're doing, hey, maybe one day I can have you on my show as a guest as well. So all I'll say, yeah, so there.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
that.
much, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.